Hello and welcome to film number 2, Coming Off Sugar. Once you've made friends with the raw honey, your next step is to make friends with dried fruit. And let's start off with one of the old favourites. So these are called medjool dates, and they are one of the softest, squishiest, most delicious dates that you can obtain, and they are not cheap. The thing to remember about dates is they are 70% sugar. So when you've moved from a place where you're coming off sugar until really that's something you've let go of, you won't even need to be eating these except in rare occasions, special treats. But to start with, when you're coming off sugar, you want to go for these because they're 70% sugar, so that's 30% less than you're having the refined sugar. This actually requires the body to do some digestion, which means the sugars go into the bloodstream more steadily. Not as steadily as something like rice, but nonetheless, really a good step in the right direction. There's lots of different delicious desserts you can make with dates. So, other dried fruit, we have got here raisins, sultanas, currants, real old-fashioned favourites. Now here's the next thing I want to bring up. Whenever you buy anything that's in a packet, please be sure to check the label, because quite a lot of dried fruits have added sugar. Make very sure you don't choose any of those, because they're going to put you right back on the wrong track again, the track you're busy coming away from. So the great gift about dried fruit, dates, raisins, whatever, is you can put them into a little bag and carry them around with you, so when you feel a sudden drop in your blood sugar level and you don't want to reach for the conventional things, you've got something in the bag which you can take out and munch on. And supermarkets even do sell tiny little boxes of raisins which you can pop into a bag as a convenience thing to take around with you. So the thing about dried fruit, just like the dates, it requires more digestion. The body's got to do something, it's got to work a little bit to get those sugars out of the dried fruit. And because you're making a digestion work, everything's starting to go in the right direction. Now here's another thing that you can do. You can start to make use of maple syrup. Now maple syrup is particularly good obviously with pancakes, some delicious fruits, maple syrup. If you eat dairy, maybe a little bit of creme fraiche. If you're vegan, maybe coconut yogurt, whatever you feel like. You've got yourself a fantastic dessert there, and because you're coming off sugar and you're slowly releasing the habit, the maple syrup is a really good substitute for the refined sugar. It's got a very intense taste, similar but different from the honey, so I thoroughly recommend maple syrup. The other thing you can do is you can make various different things, flapjacks, cakes, all sorts of different things. And here's some other sweeteners. So that's coconut blossom nectar. I've used this one as a substitute in my raw chocolate when I'm making it for vegans. Agave nectar, likewise. This is actually extracted from a cactus. And back to our old friends the dates, and there's some dates nectar. And you can make wonderful flapjacks with oats and all the ingredients you normally put in flapjacks, maybe dried fruits, nuts, and then you would add, instead of the sugar, you would add the date nectar. That makes an incredibly satisfying flapjack when you're coming off sugar. Now I'm going to show you another one. Now this is one I don't use personally. It's called coconut palm sugar. It's supposed to have a lower glycemic index than conventional sugar. And you could use it as a substitute. I just want to pass on my own feelings. My feeling is this is too much in the direction of what we're trying to get away from, what I'm happy to be away from. So I don't actually make use of this one myself, but some people do find it very useful. And then there is xylitol. Now xylitol is a sugar alcohol. Sugar alcohols are an interesting compound in their own right, and that particular one is highly recommended. Lots of people have very good reports about how it works though. Just personally, when I take one look at it, I think I don't really want that in my body, thanks very much. It looks like a white powder, you know what I'm saying, so I'd rather not. The other thing you can do is you can consider this possibility, which is called stevia. Now stevia is from a very particular plant, an extract. You can get it as a liquid form in this case, or as a powder. And here's the thing, it doesn't look like a white powder, it's a green powder. It hasn't got that kind of dodgy connotation that I get with the refined sugar. Stevia is far sweeter than conventional sugar. It's got a very different taste, and you therefore have the advantage of being able to use very little. It doesn't affect the body with a roller coaster effect the way that sugar does. So that's certainly something to consider as well. So if you're interested in these alternatives, things like xylitol, just see what you feel. Same with coconut sugar, same with stevia. So the huge advantage, as I'm making this film now, about how it was when I made my first big step to come off sugar, most of these things didn't even exist. It was the maple syrup, the honey, the dried fruit, that's all there was. But you've got so much more choice of all these different things which you can choose to use to aid you in that process. You can make flapjacks, brownies, all sorts of things. You can get conventional recipes out. You can simply take the sugar out of the recipe and put one of these decent substitutes into the recipe. That is certainly perfectly possible. And because I forgot to mention it before, I'm going to just take a little moment to mention something that is a very special favourite of mine. And this is honeycomb. Honeycomb is literally the honey inside the wax cells. And this actually is a particularly valuable honeycomb because this is old honey, and I haven't explained this, but when it comes to fighting infections and treating wounds, old honey is even more medicinal than the new honey. That's a strange paradox. So the thing about honeycomb, if you are in that kind of state and you're coming off sugar, you really want to just give yourself a bit of a treat, and you could get a teaspoon of that and chew on that, and you'll find that the wax will be, you'll be chewing the wax 5 minutes later. It's almost like chewing gum. In fact, the wax contains lots of medicinal properties as well, so you're doing yourself a huge favour when you're coming off the sugar habit by indulging in something like honeycomb. So there's a whole load of alternatives for you to play around with there, and remember, the aim is always to slowly and gently reduce the amount of these sugars in your system, and to be increasing the foods which are more slow release, which is the carbs. Thank you very much.